Today I'm sharing the high protein spread I put on pretty much everything. And despite what it looks like, this is not hummus. Let me introduce you to whipped tofu ricotta. This stuff is wildly delicious, but super quick and easy. I'm gonna show you how to make it, plus my top 5 ways for using it, so you'll have tons of inspiration. But first, a very exciting announcement. You won't be able to find this recipe on my website as usual because I have joined the New York Times cooking section as a contributor. I've been a huge fan and subscriber of NYT Cooking for many years, so I'm just so honored that some of my recipes will be featured there. Of course, I will still have plenty of recipes on my own site, but if you want to grab the recipes in today's video, they'll be over at the New York Times, and I'll share later in the video how you can access these recipes. But for now, let's get into making the recipe. First step of the recipe is very simple. You're gonna grab your block of extra firm tofu. It's packed in water, so you wanna go ahead and drain that. And just gently pat dry your tofu block. No need to press it. That is the beauty of this recipe. We're not trying to crisp up the tofu, so we don't need to extract any excess water. The prep is super quick. Another time-saving benefit of this recipe is that the food processor does all the work for you. So we're just going to crumble our tofu roughly into the bowl. So tofu is a blank canvas and it needs a lot of seasoning. So now we're gonna start layering flavor boosters into our tofu. First up, we're gonna roughly chop a couple cloves of garlic. I like to chop it just so that I don't accidentally get any unblended raw garlic in my bite, because that would be not great. Zest 1 medium lemon directly into the bowl because it has this floral brightness that really just brightens up the whole ricotta. And I'm gonna juice about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice directly in here, a little bit more. Next up, nutritional yeast. You're probably familiar with this ingredient, but in case you're not, here's the 10-second spiel. This stuff is made from the same yeast that's used to make bread, except that it's deactivated. And that deactivation process actually produces the naturally occurring glutamates, which are responsible for that umami flavor and that subtle cheesiness. And it's actually quite high in protein. There's about 5 grams in 2 tablespoons. We're gonna start with 4 tablespoons or a 1/4 cup, but at the end, with pretty much all these ingredients, you're gonna taste and add more as desired. We have another heavy hitter umami ingredient. We've got some miso paste, and this is white miso, which I typically prefer because it's the mildest kind of miso, and it works really well with plant-based ingredients that are delicate, so it's not going to overwhelm those flavors. A little bit of onion powder, some freshly cracked black pepper, just measure with your eyes and your heart, and 1 teaspoon of diamond crystal kosher salt. The reason I specify what salt I'm using is because this variety of salt is about half a salty teaspoon for teaspoon compared to table salt. So if you're using table salt, use about half the amount. And if you are using sea salt, I'd say a little more than half the amount. And now for my favorite ingredient, a glug of extra virgin olive oil. This is gonna add a rich mouthfeel and luxuriousness that you would associate with a dairy-based ricotta. And now we just need to blend this. Oh, step number 1, you actually have to plug in your food processor. Once it starts to come together, go ahead and scrape down the sides. And then you want to keep blending for a minute or 2 until it starts to get this creamy whipped consistency. Now this is arguably the most important part of the recipe. You want to season to taste. If you want any more subtle cheesiness, you can add more nutritional yeast, really good. If it needs a little more salt, go ahead and do that. If it needs more acidity, add some lemon juice, and then just blend again. If your block of tofu is on the larger side, let's say 16 ounces instead of 12 ounces, you'll probably need to tinker with the seasonings a bit more. Now this stuff is so good you could eat it by the spoon. I do that quite frequently, but to get the most out of it, I like to meal prep a batch of this on Sunday, and then I can use it in so many different meals during the week. I'm gonna show you just how I do that, but first, let me tidy up. Maybe the best thing about this tofu ricotta is that if you have it in the fridge, you are always just minutes away from a really delicious meal. So I wanted to share my top 5 ways for using this stuff in your cooking. First up, I like to pair it with toast for a super quick breakfast or lunch. Get some nice bread from your local bakery, toast it up, add the tofu ricotta, followed by any other toppings you like. One of my go-tos is some lightly dressed salad greens, pickled onions, a tiny drizzle of agave, and flaky salt. But you could also do some sliced tomatoes and pesto on top of the ricotta toast if that's more your thing. Speaking of tomatoes, the second way I love to use this ricotta is in this spectacular summer tomato salad with homemade chili oil. It's kind of like a tomato burrata salad, but plant-based and a little higher in protein. Start by making a very simple 5-minute chili oil. It's just Aleppo pepper and olive oil. It's very mild and therefore suitable for all my baby mouths out there. From there, you're just gonna grab some heirloom tomatoes, ideally from the farmer's market, and cut them up into chunks. Then slice some shallots and garlic for a little punch. And then toss everything together. Now for serving, I like to use an ice cream scoop to dollop out the ricotta because it just looks very cute. Nestle in your gorgeously seasoned tomatoes and drizzle the whole thing with that chili oil plus some aged balsamic vinegar. And of course, some fresh basil. It is hard to think of a better appetizer in summer than this, but our next dish might actually give this one a run for its money. And that is whipped tofu ricotta with jammy zucchini on top, plus fresh mint and pistachio dust. This is another dish where if you make it for your guests, they're gonna think it's incredibly fancy, but they'll never know how easy it is. The basic idea is that you cook down some chopped zucchini and garlic in a hot cast iron skillet until the zucchini breaks down and gets nicely browned, almost caramelized and jammy in texture. And while that's going on, you can make some magic pistachio dust, which is just roasted salted pistachios that you've pulverized in your spice grinder or food processor. To serve, make a comfortable bed of tofu ricotta, top it with your jammy zucchini, pistachio dust, and fresh mint. It is outrageously good, and yes, it has been known to convert even the most ardent zucchini skeptics. Now, in just a minute, I will explain where you can get all of the recipes in today's video, but first I want to share how you can use this ricotta in 2 main courses. First up, we have a very classic option, baked stuffed shells. To spice up the ricotta filling for the shells, I like to add in some chopped sun-dried tomatoes and then a bag of baby spinach that I just lightly sauteed, a bit of dried oregano and red pepper flakes, and some vegan parm. But you can kind of mix in whatever you like or whatever you have on hand. Grab a baking dish and layer on some good quality marinara sauce, and then you'll stuff some of your cooked jumbo shells with the ricotta filling and tuck them in like they're going in for a long nap. Blanket them with another layer of marinara, and you'll bake this in the oven at 350 Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes. Finish with chopped parsley or fresh basil, and you have yourself the most comforting dinner. Last but not least, this ricotta makes an incredible base for homemade flatbread pizzas. And in terms of toppings, you can kind of go in any direction you like, but a recent favorite of mine are these Middle Eastern inspired flatbreads. I start by making the sumac pickled shallots, and while those marinate for a few minutes, I zhuzh up some canned cannellini beans with olive oil and a few teaspoons of za'atar. Then I tear up a mix of different soft herbs. I have basil, parsley, and mint today, and combine them with the marinated shallots for a bright and fresh herby salad. Toast your favorite flatbread in the oven just to crisp it up a bit, then slather on the ricotta and briefly warm that in the oven. Then you can add your beans and herb salad, and you've got yourself another very simple but very gourmet meal. You can find the recipe for the whipped tofu ricotta, as well as the tomato salad and the jammy zucchini, all over at nytcooking.com. I've left gift links in the description box below for those recipes, which means you can access them for free. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!